Good morning. Welcome to SimWorld today, Tuesday, October 22nd edition. We got plenty to get to. We got Aidan Weaver joining us from Alabama to wrap up our show ahead of the game of the week with Alabama and Duke this afternoon on CBS at 8:30. We're talking a little bit of that game, a little bit of Kansas's chaos, but we're starting with Monday Night Football, and I'm joined by J.R. Storm. Good morning, J.R. How are you?
I'm great, Marsh. Ready to talk some SimWorld action today. You said Monday Night Football, very good game last night.
Well, very good game for a couple minutes. We're talking Ravens-Bucks. It was a very good game until the Ravens decided to pull away in the third. Tampa made a last-ditch effort to try to get back in this thing, but it was a Baltimore domination on the offensive side of the ball. They racked up over 500 yards. They scored 34 unanswered across the second and third quarters, and they picked up their fifth straight win over a Tampa Bay team that kind of just does this. They hang around, they're decent, but when they play the teams that are expected to be the best in the league, they never seem to get the job done. The Ravens, though, moved to 5-2, JR.
Yeah, like you said, Ravens dominant on offense. Lamar, well over 300 total yards. Derrick Henry, 169 yards on the ground. And then on the defensive end, Marlon Humphrey had 2 interceptions. Just an solid all-around performance from the Ravens. And a very much needed road win, I think, for them last night.
Well, they go on the road. They beat not a bad football team, but that's their third road win of the season over Dallas and Cincinnati. They needed 3 points to beat either of those. They looked much better there, but some of the weaknesses of this team did not show up, and what they were able to do was just simply overpower. And for whatever reason, it seemed like Tampa Bay didn't know that Lamar Jackson could scramble, because every single time they bring a blitz, he would just make one move and he would get time. And that is the difference with this team. When Lamar Jackson, now granted, you would like to see Lamar Jackson be able to throw from the pocket a little bit. That's not a Lamar Jackson critique. That is a critique of the fact that they don't do a great job protecting him. But you would like to see him be able to operate a little bit more inside the pocket. But when he gets outside of the pocket, this team has wide receivers, and Mark Andrews finally showed up last night to be able to get separation during these broken plays. And Tampa Bay had just no answer for that. It was, I don't want to say cringeworthy, but it was expected every single time that Baltimore got the ball that they were going to move the ball and they were probably going to score. Whether that was a touchdown or a field goal was to be determined, but they easily moved the ball up and down this Tampa Bay defense, who now falls to 4-3.
Yeah, definitely. And, it kind of amazes me, yet not at the same time, because the one weakness you could say about this Ravens team is that offensive line. And yet they still are finding a way to win games.
They moved to 5-2. Their next opponent is Cleveland. The schedule gets pretty good right here for Baltimore for the next 2 weeks. Cleveland on the road, who will be starting Jameis Winston, and then Denver at home before a Thursday night matchup with Cincinnati, followed by a visit to Pittsburgh. So a chance for them to go to Cincinnati at 7-2, and depending on what Kansas City does, maybe looking up at an opportunity to snag the number one spot. Speaking of number one spots, we got two teams laying a claim to it. One of them maybe a little bit more than the next. But SimWorld U tonight at 8:30, we've got Alabama hosting Duke, a matchup with two top 5 teams. All the conversation around Alabama, we're going to talk to Aidan Weaver here in just a moment. All of the conversation around Alabama has been the fact that they should be number one. And it has been an impressive run thus far for them this season. Dwayne Epps, DJ Childs, their top 2 scorers. You throw in Quincy Henderson at 14 per game. You add in a guy like Aidan Weaver, whose shot hasn't quite fallen just yet, but is a good floor spacer. What's your look ahead tonight against a Duke matchup that's going to be pretty much all around Cooper Flag?
Well, I'm looking for Alabama to continue their winning ways. I think it'll be a very competitive game, but I just think there's been a lot more consistency out of the Crimson Tide than what I've seen out of Duke personally, at least to start the season. I mean, Alabama up and down their roster has just had solid, consistent, offensive contributions from pretty much everybody.
This is going to come down to the backcourt, in my opinion, and this is the weakness that we've talked about plenty of times about this basketball team for Duke, is who are they going to be turning to in the backfield? Demario Duval is expected to move potentially to the bench here. That's been the big conversation around this squad, but they don't have a lot of size in their backcourt, and that's going to be a challenge when they go up against Alabama, who's got DJ Childs, Quincy Henderson, Aidan Weaver, Dwayne Epps. That's a lot of size that Duke is going to have to combat against. The question mark is going to be, how do you slow down Cooper Flagg? Nobody's figured it out quite yet. 27 points per game, shooting above 40% from deep. He looks like the number one recruit in the nation, just as many people had expected he would. But if Duke is unable to be any type of resistant in the backcourt, then they've got a chance to win this game on the road. But when they have struggled, it's been when they have been unable to get stops on the defensive end. That's why Demario Duval's moving out of the starting lineup, because his defense has not been really a strong suit for them. That inserts a guy like Scoochie Nelson into the starting five. That can change the equation. How do they play that? If Scoochie Nelson can step in and be a reliable defender, I think that Duke has a chance to win on the road. If not, Alabama's going to get another claim to be the number one team in the country. All right, let's head over to Kansas, who is a little bit of frustration. Bill Self is claiming there's going to be some roster moves for a team that's allowing 80 points per game by their opponents. Kansas was number 9 in the nation before a pair of losses have knocked them all the way out of the SP Top 25. Panic time right now for Kansas, JR?
No, I'm not panicking if I'm Kansas. Yes, it's been a rough start to the season, but if you look at their schedule this far, they're losing to Tennessee, allowing 80 plus there. I mean, just about any team in SimWorld U is going to allow, 75 to 80 when you're playing Tennessee, and that's just a testament to how good the Volunteers really are. So I don't factor that in necessarily too much. The Mississippi State loss, yes, that is a heartbreaker, but every team is going to have a bad loss and rough stretches throughout the season, and I think Kansas is just starting off with one. And then you look at the other side of the ball, Nas Hall and Madison Miles, both averaging over 20 points a game, but the next closest is Jabbar Wilson, averaging around 10. So you would like to see consistency more on both ends of the floor, to be quite honest.
I'm not too worried about their offense. I think this is a bit of an overreaction by the SP Top 25 committee to take them all the way out of the top 25. Because, to your point, their losses, Tennessee, who's number 2 in the country, and then a tight one to Mississippi State, who's now also ranked. So you're looking at a pair of ranked losses. I don't mind having two guys scoring 20 points per game. I don't really care what Jabbar Wilson, what Carmelo Vega, what Charles Pinkert are going to be doing, because they aren't the guys that are going to be high-volume scorers. It's going to be Nas Hall, it's going to be Madison Miles, and this team is scoring this 22nd most points in the country at 78 per game. They're shooting exceptionally well from the floor. You'd like to clean up a little bit of the three-point, but they're still shooting 33%, which is 28th. The challenge is the defense, and I think you look at this rotation and this roster as a whole, and Bill Self can claim this is one of the best and deepest rosters he's had. The problem is that they don't have a lot of defenders. Dino Ahern is probably their best bench defender, but he's at 6 foot, so he's not somebody that can really switch across the wing. Instead, you're starting guys like Charles Pinkert, who's more of an offensive threat. He's proven to be shooting 50% on low volume so far through the first 3 games from deep. But you don't have a go-to stopper outside of Carmelo Vega and Jarvis Woodson. And we have not seen a whole lot of Jarvis Woodson to start this season. That, I think, needs to be changed. I think you need to find a way to add a couple of rotational players into the starting lineup that can actually play defense, because the offense has not been the problem. And so long as Madison Miles and Nas Hall are in the starting lineup, this team is going to be absolutely fine on the offensive end. It's finding the guys that are going to make a difference defensively to make this thing work. All right, let's bring in our special guest of the day, who is getting ready to play against Duke this afternoon. Aidan Weaver joins the show. Good morning, Aidan. How are you?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me back. This is I love it. I love being here.
Look, what is this 2 times now, Aidan, that we've had you on the show?
I want to say this is my third time.
Okay,
Two times in like the past month, but yeah, it's been 3 times. I'm pretty sure.
All right, well, leader in the clubhouse, I'm sure. Aidan, huge game tonight. You guys are number 3 facing off against number 5 Duke. What's the game plan headed into tonight that you're able to give us in terms of what are you guys going to try to do to stop Cooper Flag and maybe get things rolling on the offensive side?
And Duke's going to be a tough test. I mean, being number 5 in the country and obviously having Cooper Flag and Galskis over there, it's going to be tough. But I think our game plan going in is really just do our best to stop Cooper, but you're not going to be able to stop Cooper Flag most of the time. So we're just going to try to lock down everyone else and make sure that no one else can score. And so if Cooper can beat us by himself, more props to him. But we're going to try to shut everybody else down just to make it only a Cooper Flag game, and where he's going to have to put up about 50 or 60 for him to be able to beat us.
Aidan, you have been getting a lot of minutes right off the rip here during your time in Tuscaloosa. What has your mindset sort of been throughout your time there, just this far?
So gonna be honest, so I haven't been scoring a whole lot, but I am just more of a glue guy for this team. I feel like at the moment, I'm really just filling in the role that Coach Oates needs from me. He doesn't need a scorer at the moment. I mean, I can contribute, but we have DJ Childs and Levin Cutler, and so we really don't need that at the moment. But I'm just kind of here. I'm here to make sure the team is still together. And I'm providing valuable minutes. My defense has gotten a lot better since prep. And I feel like since Lone Star last year, and I also wasn't able to score a whole bunch last year, I kind of fill a similar role as a locker room leader and all that kind of stuff. And the DJ Childs has been a big mentor for us on this team, and with all the freshmen that we have, and so we're looking good.
Well, you talk about not needing scoring. We entered the season, and the big question mark for you guys was going to be who else is there behind DJ Childs. Kind of expect Childs to be that number 1 guy. He's lived up to it, although he's had his struggles from deep, just shooting 29%. But Dwayne Epps, Quincy Henderson have really impressed this season. Is that a surprise to the locker room in terms of did you expect the contributions to be that great, or has this been something where you guys knew those two were going to be viable, number 1 options on any given night next to Childs?
I mean, it's not really a surprise to us. I mean, we know what we have on the squad. We know this kind of scoring that everyone can bring to this team. And yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. I did not expect Dwayne Epps to be as good as he's been, but he's been doing it. He is a dog. He's averaging the 17 points and 6 boards. I mean, he's coming in hot. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't really much of a surprise, but I'm glad we're playing really hot.
Aidan, what do you think is the realistic ceiling for your Alabama team?
Realistic ceiling, I'd probably have to go. Honestly, look, we've been snubbed. There's no question about that. About being the number 2 seed, arguably the number 1 seed, but Kentucky's been a really good team this year, so I don't blame the committee for putting them number 1. But I believe we are a number 1 team. I believe we can make it pretty deep in Hoopsteria. And I think we got a shot at the national championship if we can keep this going.
All right, Aidan Weaver joining the show. Big talk ahead of a big game. We appreciate it, Aidan. Best of luck tonight against Duke. Again, 8:30 on CBS. We look forward to the game of the week, Tide and Blue Devils. Best of luck, Aidan. Thanks for joining the show.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me.
All right, let's wrap this up with our SimWorld U wrap-up. It's a quick one. 3 games last night. We start in Arkansas with the number 18th ranked Arkansas Razorbacks pick up an 89-68 win over Baylor. They draw back even on the season at 500. DJ Wagner leads all scorers in this one with 20 points and 6 boards for the Razorbacks. Out in Iowa, where Boise State picks up their first win of the season, 83-73 victory. Carmelo Looper, 24 points, nails 4 triples for the Broncos. And Boise State moves to 1-2, sends Iowa State to a 1-4 start. Kirby Ordway with 26 to lead all scorers in this one. And then St. Mary's on the road to TCU. The new Mountain West squad moves to 2-1 on the season. A defensive affair, 68-63. St. Mary's shoots just 41% from the floor, 40% though from deep. 7 made threes combined from Dime Hardaway. Kai Newby gives the Gales their second win of the season. All right, that's our show. We're coming back tomorrow where we're going to be recapping what will be 2 absolutely massive games in SimWorld U. Also, hey, check it out. Beginning of the SWBA season. We didn't even talk about that today because we got to talk about Aidan Weaver and the Crimson Tide, but we will be talking opening night of SWBA. It is the best night in basketball season outside of, well, the start of SimWorld U, which also was fantastic. But we got plenty to talk to. Texas and UConn tonight at 7 o'clock on CBS, followed by Duke and Alabama. All of that gets rolling on SimWorld TV on YouTube, and then broadcast partner with CBS Sports. JR, always a pleasure talking with you. We'll be back with you on Thursday, and we'll bring B-Ron to the hot seat tomorrow here on SimWorld Today on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.
This has been a presentation of SimWorld.